Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to episode 45 of Freshly Grounded. I'm here with Big Man Sam, 6'6".
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you, Sam?
I'm very well, thank you.
We haven't had a catch up this episode.
Huh?
We haven't had a catch up.
No, it's been formal. How are you? All right?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you? You
I'm
all right?
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, loving the attire.
Thank you, sir.
It was showing me up, but alhamdulillah, I don't mind because you're Big Man Sam.
Thank you so much.
I'll give you a benefit of the doubt. Wow, so this episode was with Musa Salaam. Musa is a
Revert to Islam.
He's at his Revert to Islam on Instagram, and we talk about so much interesting stuff in this episode. We speak about how he took his Shahada in prison. We speak about him leaving the music industry for the sake of Allah, and we speak a lot about kind of the problems with gang culture and Muslims, kind of his advice to Muslims, young Muslims. Man, so much.
Yeah, good.
A good episode,
Very
man.
good, yeah.
Good episode. Listen, guys, here's the thing though, yeah? If you want more out of Freshly Grounded, the old FG, and you want to help support Freshly Grounded, to kind of keep the show running every single week, there's a lot of upkeep, there's a lot of financial upkeep, there's a lot of costs that go into the show, and to be able to kind of support and help, if you think this benefits you or can benefit others, please do head over to patreon.com/freshly grounded. That's patreon.com/freshly grounded. You can donate as little as £5, around £5, or you can go as high as you please, wherever you feel like kind of the podcast deserves. The money goes back into the podcast in some way or another, in a way of kind of keeping upkeep there, allowing us to keep first of all maintaining it, but second of all, inshallah, even making it better. Patreon.com/freshly grounded. By being a patron, you're not only helping us keep the podcast up and running, but you are also you're going to get loads of kind of you get free content, so you get free extra content throughout the month. You get the episode earlier than everybody else. You get exclusive discounts on Freshly Grounded merch or on merch for our businesses. So head over to patreon.com/freshly grounded. Honestly, you guys, it is a big help. And if you want to sponsor an episode, so have your business or product on our luxury table here, or and shouted out by both Big Man Sam and Big Daddy Faze,
Big boy phase.
then head over to freshlygrounded.com/partner. That's freshlygrounded.com/partner. This episode is brought to you by 59. That's 50_NINE on Instagram. 59 Stanhope Road. It's a coffee bar. It's a juice bar. It's a snack bar. Everything fresh. And
we're now on Deliveroo.
Now on Deliveroo.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
There we go. And Sam, I'm going to tell you a bit of information right now.
Okay.
Today is the 1 year since Freshly 59 opened up.
Good knowledge. It's correct. 1 year.
Wow.
And tomorrow is 4 years Menspire.
Wow.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
And between this episode and next episode is going to be 1 year Freshly Grounded.
Wow.
I believe.
A year already, yeah?
Yeah, year.
Blimey.
1 year in, going strong.
Time travels fast when you're having fun.
Yeah. I said that,
You know?
quite. I sense sarcasm there, but I'm going to ignore it. Okay, don't say anything about that. SubhanAllah. So yeah, guys.
What a great year, huh?
Alhamdulillah, beautiful year. Head over to 59 Stanhope Road. Get yourself a fresh coffee, a juice, a snack, or some breakfast, some lunch. And go there. And if you quote Freshly Grounded to the staff, you get £1 off your order. Also brought to you by Izaha, izaha.com, izaha.com. Arabic style caps, hats, jumpers, t-shirts. Head over there, go to izaha.com and type in the code word Freshly Grounded to get 20% off your order. Lastly but not least, brought to you by flavor.co, flavr.co. Want some branding? Want some marketing? Want some social media content for your business? Head over to Flavor. That's flavr.co, flavor.co. Lastly but not least, even though I said this in the last one, freshlygrounded.com/shop if you want to get any Freshly Grounded merch. You got your cups, your mugs, Freshly Grounded mugs, Freshly Grounded sweatshirts, and more things to come soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Guys, this is episode 45 with Musa Salaam.
Enjoy.
And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast by best friends Faizu and Sam.
Huh?
Welcome to Freshly Grounded,
After that bit.
the brand new podcast
And after that bit?
by best friends Faizu and Sam.
Really?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters, people of all people who are listening to this podcast. Welcome to episode 45. It is 45, isn't it? I'm right in saying that, right?
Yes, 45.
45, not 46, 45.
45, yeah.
45 of Freshly Grounded. We are joined by a very special guest today. We have, of course, we always have myself and Abdul Samad in the building, but we have Musa Salaam. Musa, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam to that.
How you doing, Akhi? You good?
Alhamdulillah.
We've been trying to get this episode with you for a hot minute now.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. It's been a while, but we're hearing it.
Alhamdulillah. So for those people who don't know, Musa, we met, I suppose, I've actually met you, I think, before Gambia, haven't I? We did I think we've kind of crossed paths once or twice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I've seen you a lot at Huda TV, once or twice when Abu Bakr asked me to come to Huda TV, but essentially we kind of met through Abu Bakr. And did you meet Musa before Gambia?
No, we've met properly in Gambia, yeah.
Yes,
We've spoken before Gambia, but we met in Gambia.
Same here, like properly we met in Gambia. And so, yeah, man, October 2016. Wow, that's how long ago.
Yeah.
November 2016, I think. We went out to Gambia, did a big Gambia trip with the spot.
November,
I think.
Was it?
Or was it October?
So yeah, November,
yeah.
Mad.
I think so.
So long ago.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, man, we went out. We were continuing this project with Spot, who's building this orphanage. We've got a piece of land out in Gambia. We're building an orphanage, a school, a masjid. Everything is upon Quran and Sunnah. And yeah, man, we met Musa out there, and that's kind of how like this all blossomed. And then we kind of there was such a strong brotherhood at that period of time, wasn't it?
Yes, because obviously when you travel with people, then you get to see each other's traits, and you kind of just get to see people from a different angle rather than when you just kind of brush past in life, you know what I'm saying? More time if you just meet someone, it's 5 minutes, 2 minutes, but there we're waking up in the morning praying Fajr together all the way up to Isha, so you get to see people from a different angle.
100%, man, 100%. So kind of before we got the kind of podcast off his feet, and actually, do you know what is actually a really good thing to mention, that we actually started Freshly Grounded because of Gambia, in the sense that me and Sam met in Gambia, and then we ended up doing the podcast. So there was a lot of benefit that came out of that.
So have you, obviously you guys have been watching the progress of Gambia and just how incredible, mashallah, how it looks now. I know you guys have seen it. But wow, what a incredible project, man! It's so beautiful. I see a lot of people start things off, and I quite often see people start things off and maybe not stay consistent to it, and maybe drop off whatever the project is. But it's beautiful seeing Spot Project and Abu Bakr like out there so much,
putting work in it,
proper putting the work in, bruv. Like behind the scenes as well, just really making it happening, and just seeing what it looks like now, bruv, and just seeing. Obviously, we were there when it was a building site at the beginning of it. It's just incredible, mashallah, and he stuck to his word of making it look.
Yeah, Abu Bakr's he's creative, man. He's an inspirational character, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
his
sure.
Characteristics and how he is as a person, even the way he started Roadside to Islam, in that when he went out to make Umrah and it changed his life, and then he instantly thought of the people that he grew up with and was thinking, right, if Islam can do this for me, what would it do for everyone else in my community that I grew up with, like the people that I've left behind in the streets and the gangs? How, like, if it can do this for me, what would it do for them? So he instantly came back, bought a standard camera from Argos and started recording Roadside to Islam. And it led him to where he took that project to. So he's a person that once he has an idea and he has a grasp of how to get it done, he just starts moving and he gets things done. Yeah, he doesn't wait for no one. Like, a lot of people like to talk about ideas and like the ideas of doing things, but never actually get around to doing it. So a lot of people like, we can do this. Imagine if we done this, and imagine if we done that. Where he's a person like, cool, let me make it happen. And then once I start the ball rolling, then I can get other people involved.
So how long have you known Abu Bakr?
I've known Abu Bakr for about, I'll say I've known him since I was about 14 or 13,
Serious?
Something like that. Yeah, I think I've known Abu Bakr because we're both from Wolf Road. So he was someone that I would have crossed paths with from about the age of 14. And then I'd say 15, 16, 17 would have had more interaction just being in like Wolf Road. Like, I was a part, obviously the gangs that the gang that I was involved in, it was like an off branch of another group of people that he was involved in, you know what I'm saying? So we just kind of naturally grasped towards each other that the older that we got, you know what I'm saying? So in Wharf Road, I would have said by the time I was 17, 18, and we had that, you go into that transition of clubbing and doing things like that, then it's like, right, you're from my ends. And we just kind of all know, like, he's most probably known people that I know for so long, you know what I'm saying, from about the age of 9 or 10. So then we just naturally kind of come together. So I don't know, it could even be much longer than that.
So you were quite close before Islam?
Yeah, I knew Abu Bakr before Islam.
Yeah.
I knew him when he was Muslim and I wasn't Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he give you dawah?
Yeah, Abu Bakr used to come to me and talk to me about Islam and this and that. But I was then like, I was rapping, I was making money. Like I was trying to be like a rap star or musician or whatever. I was in a whole different trance. So when he used to come to me, it was like the two didn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't a direction. Like I used to hear him out, but I was like, it wasn't the direction I was trying to go in. You know what I'm saying? Because at the time I was chasing a different lifestyle.
So let's wind it back. So for the benefit, I know you have done your revert story and it's online, but for the benefit of those listening who may not have heard it, how did you get introduced to Islam? I know Abu Bakr used to kind of speak to you about it, but when did you start taking it seriously and start thinking, do you know what, subhanAllah, I'm starting to believe in this? And then eventually to the point where you're thinking, I might actually adopt this as a way of life. Kind of give us an idea of kind of like pre your converted to Islam, and then the whole process of like how it came about and how you eventually ended up taking your Shahada. I'm really interested.
Yeah, like I would say I've always been a spiritual person, someone that kind of believed in a higher power or God or whatever you want to call it. I'm someone that's always been spiritual. So it was that sense I was thinking of trying to stay spiritual in the contents of how I was living my life. So I'm someone that, you know, as a young kid, my mum took me to things like Sunday school. I used to go to church on Sundays. Regardless of what I kept up with, I had that spiritual connection because of my early ages or my young ages of going to church and going places like Sunday school and things like that. So I think Islam was something that started to come around. I come from an era where basically I'm from like Wharf Road, Peckham. That's the type of area that I gravitated to. So Wharf Road, that we call the Gaza Strip, is in between an area which is Brixton, that some people that they used to call Baghdad at that time, and Peckham, that was known as Peknam, as Vietnam, the war. So these areas kind of took on like names and in terms of how serious they were as gangs, and Wharf Road was in the middle of those two areas. So it was known as the Gaza Strip. We used to call it the Gaza. So it's like growing up on Wharf Road, you either went towards Brixton or you went towards Peckham. So you could have lived in Wharf Road and went to a school in Lambeth, which is Brixton, or you could have lived in Wharf Road and went to a school which was more connected to Peckham. I happened to go to a school which was connected to Peckham, and people like Abu Bakr that happened to go to schools that were connected to Brixton. So that's where you would find a divide in that community, in that area with youngsters. So even though we were cool, he would have friends that I didn't like, and I'll have friends that he didn't like. So obviously being more attached to Peckham and stuff like that, I went to school in Peckham, grew up in Peckham, and at a time, the Brixton side where Muslim Bilal's from, SMS, them guys started to become Muslim. It was like a gang thing that was going on, gang affiliation. A lot of them were taking it serious and a lot of them wasn't. So from the outside, being from Peckham and stuff and having friction and having beef in places like Brixton, it was a straight dislike for Islam because we disliked them. So when we heard that there were some Muslim guys going on like robbing and shooting, whatever they were doing, and they were doing it with Islam as the forefront, we was like, hold on. If they think they're going to come bully us because they're Muslims and they think they're a part of some type of gang, then we're going to show them something different. So I automatically had a dislike for Islam, but I was a spiritual person. So it was only I think I went to prison for the second time. And then I think my second time in prison, that was after. So that's after Abu Bakr giving me dawah and knowing that I grew up with Abu Bakr, he's a Muslim. I don't feel threatened by Abu Bakr because we've grown up together, but I don't like the company that he's keeping.
When you say after, you don't mean after your Shahada, you just mean after like he started
After he gave me dawah.
Okay, fine.
After he told me about Islam. So obviously Abu Bakr's told me about Islam.
But when you went to prison, you wasn't a Muslim.
I wasn't a Muslim, but I had a couple interactions with Abu Bakr. He used to come outside my house when he used to be on the way to the mosque, on the way to a talk, or I'll be coming out my house because I live like on the strip on Woolies. I'll be coming out, he'll be driving past, he'll pull up like, yo, what's going on, sis? Yeah, man, you need to become Muslim, you need to change, trust me, this life that we're living is long. But he used to go on, but in my head I was like, I gotta go studio, I gotta meet the man them. So at this time, so obviously at that time I was rapping, I was OTB, Spare No One, so it was like me, Bucksky, and then Kai's Gigs, Joe Grind. We were in a group and we were out of a base similar to this size called Unit 10, and Unit 10 had some of the you know, major talent in the UK pass through Unit 10, you know. So I had a chance to kind of, at that time I was rapping with my peers who were doing stuff, you know, that were, you know, at a high level of what we were trying to achieve. So I was comfortable and I felt like I was in the right place. I didn't need a sense of direction. So he was talking to me and being spiritual. Some of the things that he used to say to me, because I'm a person that I connect myself, or the things that I connect myself to spiritually is death. I always think about death a lot. And it's like, and I feel like one of the purposes or one of the reasons that I feel like death has a big factor to me is that when I think it was around 10 or 11, my dad passed away. So dad passing away at such a young or early age connected me to death. So I felt like it was a part of my life from an early, you know what I mean, from an early standpoint. A lot of people don't really, the first time you really interact with death is when a family member dies. So you hear it, you see it, it's death in it. But when it's within the house or within a close family unit, so if it's a close uncle, a cousin, a brother, that's when you start to realize, well, death. So I got introduced to death at an early age. I think in my last year of primary school, I got introduced to death through my father passing away. So I feel like spiritually, I had a connection with that, knowing that, hold on, people do die and they go away and you never see them again. And that was a lot to deal with, but I think it's something that stuck with me. So speaking to Abu Bakr about Islam, that's all he used to talk about. What are you going to do when you die? How are you going to answer that?
It's interesting because just so that he still does that, doesn't he? He still talks about death a lot. And I think I was speaking to you maybe, Sam, and we were saying that actually we mentioned to Abu Bakr that alhamdulillah when we're around him we think about death so much more, because he really does make it a thing to remind us of death, and I think that's such a positive reminder. Sorry, carry on. It just seemed probably because it's interesting to see that he hasn't changed in his approach and it is still so effective.
Yeah, because I feel like being in or living the type of lifestyle that we lived, where we had people getting shot, stabbed, and friends dying. Like me and Abu Bakr attended a funeral of one of the local so-called elders on the block, you know, and he was someone that had everything. I think Abu Bakr spoken about him a lot of times. He was someone that was 21, you know, had new Audi, R6. He had everything that we thought we wanted at a young age. So to see him in the coffin, in his suit and all his jewelry, but knowing that it's nothing now, isn't it? It doesn't mean anything. And to see that his family members had now adopted his possessions, you know, taken on his jewelry, taken on his cars and stuff that he's left behind, to the point where it was coming close to fists and people arguing about what's theirs and what's not, and he's not even been buried yet. That was a lot for us to take in. So I think it's something that we looked at, and it was always at the forefront of being on the roads, that you go out on the streets and you're tooled up and you're thinking you might not come home tonight. So it was always something in the back of our minds. But I think that's how I used to lend an ear to Abu Bakr, was that he had a lot of details that were connected to death. So he could tell me about Islam is the right blah blah blah, but then when he talks about the grave and you know what happens, and I think that used to resonate with me a lot, and I would think about that, but not enough to take my day up. You know what I mean? Because he will talk to me about it and I'll be like, you know what, you're telling the truth, bro. You're telling the truth. And the next minute I'm in the studio rapping, we're going out, it's gone. So going to prison for the second time, I feel like when I was in there, I had time to sit down now. So I think on my first night, I think I had a single cell, and then they put me in. I think a couple nights later, they put me up in a 3-man bang up, and I was with 2 Asian brothers. I think one was Hassan and Hussein. And it was Ramadan's come in, they start fasting. They're breaking, like they're doing suhoor, they're doing iftar, breaking fast. They're not eating. They're asking me, is it all right if I don't put on the TV? Can I respect certain things? And I'm like, all right, cool. I got a couple men on the outside. They're Muslim. I'm going to respect your thing. And it's like, you know what? As it goes, let me get some Quran. Let me read. So obviously I'm reading because I thought about Abu Bakr and the things that he was saying, and now I'm banged up with two Muslims, like 24 hours a day. They're doing their thing. Let's ride in it. Let's do that thing. So I was in there. They were fasting, doing their thing, and one of them was like, "What do you know about Islam?" I'm like, yeah, I know. I knew enough because of Abu Bakr and people like that. You know what I'm saying? But he said something to me and said, when it comes to Islam and what you agree with, what are the things that you disagree about Islam? What is it that you don't like? And forget about what you agree with. It's irrelevant. What do you disagree? Like, and I was like, there wasn't much I disagreed with, you know what I'm saying? So he took it past all this scientific stuff and just took it to a basic level of understanding of what you agree and disagree with. Then he went to Christianity. There was a lot of things I disagreed with, not to go into detail. So when that came, he's like, look, my advice would be that you become Muslim because you agree with it. And if you don't like it tomorrow, then you can leave. He goes, you're not forced to stay. And he goes, if I offer you food and I say taste it, or you might say I don't want none. If I say just taste a little bit, and if you don't like it, don't eat the rest. You say it goes 9 times out of 10 you're going to taste the food and keep it moving. If you like it, finish the plate. If you don't, leave it. I was like, fair enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I embraced Islam, because I'm like someone like, it makes sense, because I'm a person like, if I don't like something, I'm going to leave.
And so did you take your Shahada there and then?
Yes, I took my Shahada there and then. So I'm saying, I took my Shahada in the cell, started fasting with them, went through it.
So you took your Shahada in Ramadan, and straight away after taking your Shahada, that's it, you're in Ramadan, you're fasting?
Yeah, Ramadan, so I'm fasting. Then I have to go and tell the screws, look, I'm Muslim now. And that's the whole next thing. So I'm saying, I need halal food, I need this. I'm seeing a couple, man, because obviously when I went in there, I had a little reputation. I was rapping and stuff. They're like, right, you're from Woolly, you're at Peckham, right, you rap with them, man, you're this, you're sis. I'm like, yeah, cool. This. So there was a lot of brothers that I knew, and there was a couple guys from like different boroughs that I had issues with, but they were Muslim. But in prison, it's whatever, innit? It's like, there's a lot of men that I knew. It's like, if it kicked off, it was whatever. It wasn't really an issue. But I feel like at the same time, because of that tension, people want that excuse not to have that beef if you're about that life. Like, if you're really about that life and people know, right, if people get a phone call like, I heard Sizzle's in your prison, you lot have got to do A, B, and C. Some people, now it's pressure. Now they got to do something to me when they see me, but they don't want to do something to me because they know that I'm about that life, and they might try to do something to me and they end up getting hurt, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of pressure with that. But then when I become Muslim, all of a sudden it's like, nah, he's a brother, we can't do nothing. So they're kind of relieved because they didn't want to do nothing in the first place. They were just under pressure from their brethren on the outside. So all of a sudden I'm getting embraced on the wing. They're making the calls. Yeah, my man from the other side, he's with us. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not with you like that. I was like, I became Muslim, but I still had love for my brethren on the road. I still had love for Peckham. I still had love for Waterford Road. It wasn't I'm Muslim now. All of a sudden, I'm Brixton, or I'm no. It's not that. I got love for you lot now. We're brothers, but you can never make me like kind of become a snake to my brethren type of thing. It's not that. But my biggest pressure was like, I'm gonna go to the studio. How am I gonna tell the man that I'm Muslim, because we're beefing Muslims on the outside? You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking to myself, how am I going to break the news? That was the biggest pressure, because I was thinking, I'm going to come out. This time here, people are already looking at Abu Bakr like he's funny. They're like, we can't trust him. He's Muslim. He's rolling with the other side. So it's already pressure. Now I'm going to come out and I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm with them. They're going to be like, what's going on? But I think because of my temperament, when I came out, people knew what time it was. I think because it is what it is with me, innit? I have a certain type of temperament where people know where they stand with me. It's not one or the other. It's like I'm clear. So I feel like people were more like, or the man them on the road, they were less worried about me being Muslim than anyone else. I was more of a dawah to, I would say, the people from my ends, rather than like a detriment or them thinking I was going to be a snake. So when I came out though, it was my best friend, Abdul Malik, aka Mantis, if some people are watching it that might know him from prior to Islam. he was someone that I wanted to tell when I first come out. I was like, how am I going to break it to him? Because he's my brother, he's close. But little did I know he was getting down on the outside. So when I've come out, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, I need to talk to Mantis. Like, I need to get his number because he's my co-D. So I'm just trying to say, yo, Ack, I'm out. I'm not even Ack. I'm like, yo, cuz, what's going on? I'm out. He's like, yeah, what's happening? I said, I got something to tell you. He said, what? He goes, nah, let me tell you something. I'm Muslim. He wanted to drop it on me quickly because he thought I was going to be on him type of thing.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, right, no, I'm Muslim. This is what I wanted to tell you. So they said, what happened? You take Shahada? He goes, yeah. And he goes, you know what? You know White Fahim Shady? He goes, yeah. Like, it's not, what, his name weren't Fahim then. He goes, you know Shady? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, what, he's Muslim as well? And I'm like, no way. So when I've come at two of the guys that I was proper close friends with, that I thought it might also be an issue, they were Muslim.
Allah made it easy for you.
Allah made it easy, straight in.
Okay, I have so many. I know there's probably like more to this story, but I want to break down some of the stuff that you said, if it's okay with you, because I'm so intrigued. So, you, how long after you took your Shahada were you released?
After I took my Shahada, I think I was released about 6 weeks after.
Okay, and the way you told the story, it makes it sound like almost like you took your Shahada. Next day you're fasting and like you're eating halal food only, and like, you know, everything. Was there a transition, or was it because on the outside world you see people take Shahada, or even people just like that are already Muslim but they come to the deen, like myself. When I started practicing, there was still a transition. So when I started practicing, I didn't go from the feeling of Iman came into my heart, and in my head I was like, oh, I'm a fully practicing Muslim. But now looking back at how I was when I first started practicing, I was still like committing sin that I would never commit now, etc, etc, etc. But is it different inside? Because it almost, the way you told your story, like I said, it almost sounds like you took your Shahada and that's it, you was on job.
Yeah, I feel like, because in prison you're in a systematic setup. So you wake up, you know, you have breakfast, or you go showers, you have breakfast, you're banged up again, then you're in your cell for the longest, or you might go to education. So there was a systematic play already, you know what I'm saying? I was already like, you know, like institutionalized within the system of prison. So when that being the case, Islam is an institution in itself. You know what I'm saying? So adapting another institution on top of that, which is rigged and like strategic, it wasn't difficult, because it was like, where am I going? You know what I'm saying? There wasn't nowhere really to go, because I'm banged up. I'm in there 23 hours a day. There wasn't much to do. So practicing and doing what I had to do, I think it was an important fundamental part of my Islam, is that I was able to grasp so much in such a small time because of my incarceration and not being outside and not being free. Because as soon as I came out, then all the pressures came back of like, you know, when I was banged up, I already had the music video that I already done, Closer, which was on like Channel U and MTV Base at that time. So it's like, when I came out, it was like, what's the next step to that? It's like progression, moving forward. So when I came out, it was more of a backslide than how I was in prison, if you know what I'm saying. Okay,
and so was that difficult, that transition from like being so on this music thing, and as you said before, like this music and kind of the studio life and stuff was one of the main reasons that you didn't, because that lifestyle you were so into, one of the main reasons you didn't want to kind of accept Islam fully, because you were inside and then you took your Shahada there. When you came out, was it easy to then let go of that aspect? So like the music and the way you were trying to...
It was difficult. It was definitely difficult to let go of music. Like, I stopped smoking straight away, partying, stuff like that. I stopped because it was more easier. But smoking, even that was difficult, because I remember going to the studio once and I'm in there and I'm telling all the men, and we're all in there rapping, and I'm like, nah, I've got to start taking my Islam serious. I'm not going to smoke again. And everyone's like, oh, you're chatting, you smoke too much not to quit. And it was like, I think also being surrounded in the studio with the mandem that had nothing to do with Islam or wanted nothing to do with it, it was kind of a like, it set a pace for me where I felt like I had to prove a point. So someone would say to me, you're not going to stop smoking, you're fake, you're just acting, you're not going to take this thing serious. I'm like, all right, cool. 1 week I haven't smoked, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's a month. Before they know it, it's like 6 months I haven't smoked. So everyone's like, right, this is serious. Because I think the transition from coming out to prison to leaving everything was 12 months. 12 to 18 months. So within that time, I stopped smoking and I stopped music within an 18-month transitioning of coming out to prison. So, because I remember I used to go to the studio. I remember once Abu Bakr picked me up, we went to a lecture and we was in Tooting. And I had a video, it was me, Kais and Gigs for a Joe Grind video. Who was it? I think it was with Streets Incarcerated or something. And he was ringing me. I remember Giggs was ringing me saying, all right, what's going on, man? The video you got, because I was like, it was 3 of us in the track. I was second, I was in the middle. So I had to be in the video. And I'm in the lecture in Tooting, like I'm under pressure, telling Abu Bakr I need to leave. He's like, nah. I'm telling him I'm going to be there in a minute. I'm just getting like, that's when I was getting pulled. I'm in the lecture, I'm trying to learn about Islam. He's pulling me, telling me, look, we got a track to shoot. Where you out? I can't tell him I'm in a lecture. I can't tell the man them. They don't get it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying I'll be there shortly. So whatever's happened, so the lecture's finished. I've had to rush to the studio. I've turned up. I got a phobe on with a hoodie and my Stone Island jacket. So I've told the guy in the video, listen, only shoot head up, like chest up. Don't shoot that.
Got the phobe on.
Yeah, I got the phobe on with a hoodie and my Stoney on. So it looks like I got a hoodie on with a Stoney. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, only shoot up. I shoot the video and then I go. Then I go back home and I'm thinking, what the heck is all this about? Like, do I want Islam? Do I want, like, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? So this is that transition. Then I'm going to the studio and I'm bringing books and talking about, you know, Prophet Jesus and Islam and the truth about this and that. And everyone's like, no, I'm not on it. No one's like, everyone's like, come on, man, you can't come to the studio and preaching because you got to allow this. Like, it's not right. And even in some of my tracks, then you could hear it. Like, I think within that time, a lot of my music was about, you know, like paths. Well, there's a lot of things I said. I can't remember some of the lyrics, but there was a lot of things that I used to say, like, what did I say?
More like focus on spirituality.
Yeah, spirituality. There was one tune I said, I thought I was a Jew, I thought I was a Christian. I said, I thought I was a Muslim, I thought I was a Christian, I never messed with the Jews, and now I'm just a hoodlum. Like, this is the type of stuff that I was talking about, because I was just caught up. And then it got to a point where I think the last thing that I'd done in there was like, I used to be the boy that was rocking the cross. Now I get ticked off when I look at the cross and stuff like that. So I kept on putting little subliminals in there that I was making that transition. And I was in there one day and everyone's like, look, if Islam's so serious, why are you here though, man? You know, one of them just out of jest, like they didn't mean nothing of it. I don't know who said it. I can't remember. I said, if Islam's so serious, why are you in the studio? Why are you rapping? Like, obviously it's not that serious. So it's them saying that, I can't remember who said it, but it played on my mind. And I said, you know what, you're right. And I just went missing. I rang Abdul Malik. He was in Egypt at the time. And so I'm coming out to Egypt. So I went there for 3 months. Then I came
How long
back.
ago was this after you taken Shahada?
This was in that same 18-month period.
18 months, yeah.
18 months. So at the end of that time there, Abdul Malik, he'd moved that to Egypt because he said it was too much. He wasn't a rapper, but he was more trapping. So I was rapping, trapping, doing everything, but he was just shutting. But he was like, I can't be doing this. Islam's too serious. And at that time, there was a lot of brothers that were practicing it seriously. So he's gone out to Egypt. He's living out there for like 5-6 months. And this time, Egypt's a foreign country to us. Like, we're from the Roads. I'm like, who does that? Who takes Shahada and just moves out to Egypt? Like, this was foreign, but it was happening earlier in Brixton. A lot of people was already out there. This time Muslim Bilal's already done 1.5 years in Egypt. They became Muslim way before us. So it was known. So when Abdul Malik, who's one of my close codees, like Abu Bakr, when he went out there, then I went and visited him and we were staying in rehab and it was fresh and it was different and we were praying every day. Those 3 months.
Was the intention of going out there to study Arabic? Was that?
No, his intention was to clean his soul.
Yeah.
So everyone was out there, I'm going to study Arabic. He's like, listen, I'm just here to clean my soul. Every day that I'm here and I'm praying 5 times a day, I'm hearing the adhan, is another day that's, you know, closer to my goals.
Getting away from the fitness.
Yeah, getting away from my fitness. So when he's gone out there and I think I spent 2 months with him out there, that changed my life. From then, Abu Bakr was out there. A lot of brothers were out there at the time.
Mass went out there as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Mass went out there, later on. That time, because I went back out there again after that for 2 years, but that time there, it was just in that 18 months of coming out and embracing Islam, because in them days, people were embracing Islam and making that trip. People who are embracing Islam and going to Yemen, Jordan, Egypt, Morocco. They were moving. Today, people embrace Islam, and because of social media and all the lectures that we get fed, people don't really have to travel, and it's kind of detriment to their deen, because living something and just watching it's not the same thing.
So that it was almost a trend that people would up and leave.
Yeah, people would just up and leave.
Now you don't see that.
No, you don't see that again. You see that people. I can't remember the last time someone took Shahada and just left the country.
I have noticed that like kind of our elders, people will talk about taking their Shahada, and then it'll be, it's almost like it goes hand in hand. Not that, I'm not saying this is a part of like the deen, but what I'm saying is that it always goes hand in hand when people say, oh, when did you take your Shahada? I took my Shahada here. And then they're like, oh, so when did you go to Egypt? Have you noticed that? Because I remember when we were in Gambia, we were sitting having the breakfast, we were with Mas and you, and there was a few brothers around, and there was conversation going, and like Mas would say, you know, I took my Shahada this year, because I was intrigued. I was asking people questions about kind of their stories, and he'd be like, you know, I took my Shahada then, and then he's like, oh, and then I went to Egypt at this point, but then, you know, this guy went to Egypt a bit later. It was almost like a thing, like you take your Shahada and then you go and study. And you're right, because you don't see that or hear that as much anymore.
You don't. When you look at the reality now, obviously we live in a different era, and like social media and stuff like that. And it's good because now you can type in anything that's connected to Islam, like how to make wudu, and so many videos will come up. And then if you've got a list of speakers that people have given you that are authentic, even those lists of speakers will have like 3 or 4 videos that they've done on that subject. So it's very easy for you to get information, but information and knowledge are 2 different things. You know, being informed about something and having knowledge of something is not the same thing. Information is like, information is something, it's like, information is what non-Muslims have about Islam. So they're informed about it. They'll tell you that Islam says pray, blah, blah, but knowledge is acting upon that information. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't act upon the things that you know, then it's not knowledge, it's just information. And so a lot of times here, I feel like we grasp a lot of information, but because you don't get to act upon it. Whereas when you was in Egypt, you would get the information and then you'd be acting upon it straight away. You know what I'm saying? Because it was easier to start to implement certain things from Islam and the Sunnah. Like, so you'd hear that the benefits of hearing the adhan and going to the mosque. You'd hear the adhan and you would go to the mosque. Whereas here, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So it was little things like that that built a foundation for many of the brothers then, that I feel like that's allowed us to have a certain level of iman through Allah's mercy. But I feel like when I tell people that I have low iman, my low iman to them is high iman. You know what I mean? My low iman is that I'm only attending the masjid once a day. You know what I mean? And I think to myself, what am I doing? I'm someone that does, you know what I mean? But then someone be like, what do you mean? At least you go to the masjid. You know what I'm saying? So, but I feel like that's that foundation that we attained from Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Where if I don't see the house of Allah, it's like I get agitated. You know what I mean? If I don't, it's one of those things. Or if salat comes in and you're not praying, you get agitated. Like as soon as it comes in, you're agitated. And I feel like some of those things that we picked up and those traits we picked up was from our travels.
So those trips to Muslim lands, Egypt and Yemen, etc. It's more to build a foundation opposed to permanently go there and start a new life there. It's more just build your knowledge on Islam and then come back when you've got that foundation there.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people used to be like on to what have you memorized. People would go to Egypt and be like, what surah have you memorized? How much Arabic do you know? And I'll tell them, how many surahs do you implement? You know, for me, it's about what do you implement. You always want to know, people always want to know what you've memorized, but they don't ask you what you implement in your life. And I feel like, you know, some of the scholars would say that, you know, this Surah al-Ikhlas alone is enough for you as a Muslim, you know, if you implement it in your life. But there's so many things that we already have memorized and have learned, but we don't implement in our lives. And that's why you start to see that, you know, we have a lot of shortcomings, is because we have a lot of information, but we don't have knowledge, man. Because knowledge is something that you implement, man. You know, knowledge is like someone tells you, if you eat too much this and that, it's not good for you. You implement that, you've gained knowledge. If you don't, you just got some information. You know what I'm saying? So
let's track it back to kind of, for a second, the discussion about music. There'll be a lot of people who probably listen to this and they'll say, look, I understand what you're saying when you're talking about the fact that, you know, you became Muslim and you saw the seriousness of stopping smoking, and stopping all of the stuff that you had stopped, that they could kind of see, they could understand, yeah. But then they might think to themselves, but why is music that serious? Like, why is listening to music that serious? And I know we can go down the avenue of getting knowledge from the scholars about kind of music and why it's bad, but from your perspective and from your experiences, what would you say to someone who was to say, look, what's wrong with listening to a bit of music?
Yeah, I feel like being a
industry as well.
Yeah, being an artist, you know, a musician, is totally different from one that listens to it. And I feel like indulging in the environments of a studio, doing shows, and being in that whole industry, I feel like if the least of it was just going in the studio and making the music, that would be one thing. But as an artist, having to be in that environment of, you know, smoking and illicit behavior and that sort of thing, it chips away at your moral compass point. You know, and this is what happens to a lot of people, is that your moral compass point starts to sway, you know, and like you find that people that thought that this was wrong, all of a sudden start saying, nah, it's not that bad, you know. And you start to see that you start to see people deteriorate in what they think morally is correct. And I feel like there's people that I grew up with in the music industry, and we had a certain stance and a certain position on certain things and certain ways of lives, and how a person should live their life. And without going into detail, just being from the roads, you can never dress and look a certain way, and that could be acceptable. But if you look at the moral compass point of a lot of the street artists, you know, that come from the so-called gangster life, they've allowed this now to infiltrate the music and the whole scene. And their moral compass point, as someone that don't even believe in a higher power like that, they're not practicing Islam or anything, but you can see how they're being swayed left and right, even though they had strong standpoints. And I just feel like as Muslims now, that comes with a lot of, like I said, it's a constitution, and it comes with a lot of rules and regulations. For you to uphold these rules and regulations that you have within Islam, it's difficult because of where we live. I get that. And that's not the issue. I'm not telling you that you walk into a shop and there's music playing, you put your hands over it. There's levels in it. We're all going to hear music. But I always tell people there's difference to hearing and listening. You know what I'm saying? Like, listening is taking note and playing. Like, you hear a lot of stuff on the main road. You're walking down the road, you can hear stuff, but you're not listening to it. Listening to music is buying CDs, playing it, putting it in your car. You're listening to it, and hearing it is just you jump in someone's car, they're playing it, you jump right back out. You didn't even fathom what was going on. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the biggest problem is people always want to say, "Oh, I listen to music," and I say you shouldn't be listening to music. You might hear it because we live here, but listening to music, like the scholars they say. And this is one of the biggest, and I think it's simple for everyone to understand. You can either agree with it or disagree with it. Is that the heart, like within your heart, the Quran and music cannot sit in it. This is a statement from Ibn Qayyum, if I'm not mistaken. Is that music and Quran cannot sit in the same heart? That's enough for me to understand. It's either the Quran will sit in your heart and it will be something that is more connected to you, or the music will sit in your heart. So for people that try to deny the fact that the reason they don't even want to stop listening to music is because they're so affected by it. It's in their heart. It's set deep in there. They feel like, why, man? It's like, you know, when someone's telling you like, you can't do something, like you can't do that. The reason you even fight the idea of why you can't do it is because you're connected to that object or that thing. It's like someone says, don't buy a Samsung no more. If you're connected to it, you're going to be like, why, man? Why can't I buy? If you don't care about Samsung, you're all right, cool, whatever. I'll buy Apple. I'll buy whatever. But the fact that you have that connection with it shows that it's sat in your heart, and you're finding it difficult to come against music and your religion and Islam and your way of life. So I just feel like people know the effects of music. They live the effects. They see the effects. They feel the effects. And it's just denial. It's like, I always tell Abu Bakr, I say like, the days of me going online and music's haram music, I ain't got time for it. Yeah. We've gone past that. You know what's, like, by the grace of Allah, social media, we know what's halal and what's haram. Live your life, bro. If you come to me and say you have a problem with music and you want to find steps to come away from it, then I'll sit down with you and I'll say, this is what you should try to do. You know what I'm saying? Listen to more Quran, find a reciter. Not every reciter is going to be your cup of tea, but find one that you like, and listen to him as much as possible and get that connection with the Quran. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a person that if someone brings me a new reciter and is reciting like a surah that I like, you know, it will touch me differently. Like I'm gassed. I'm like, no, rewind that. I'll pull it up. Like, yeah, rewind that, bring that back again. Like I get gassed from Quran. Like sometimes I'll be with a couple of brothers and we're listening to Quran and the brothers say, did you just hear that? Get that back.
Yeah, wheel up.
Yeah, wheel it out. Like when you playing, get like you feel it, and like that vibe that I get, and I feel like it's just because I just let go of the music.
Yeah. You made a comment. Do you really think people understand the effect that music actually has on them? Do you think there's quite a lot of people out there who don't realise the detrimental effects that the music's actually having on them and their heart?
Yeah, I think they might be living it and feeling it and be like not connected to the two in terms of that. They feel a certain way. They get withdrawal symptoms when they don't listen to music, but they don't get that. They don't know why. It's like, I feel sad, I need to play a certain song. I feel happy, I need to play a certain song. I'm in a certain mood.
Yeah, of course.
And they're doing it, not even thinking about it. Whereas once you connect to it, and I feel like living a certain lifestyle that we lived, like I said Abu Bakr and I was telling my brother Abdul Malik that if we had beef, there were certain rap artists that we would play.
Yeah, get you ready,
get you ready, gassed. Like, and I tell man, if you had a link and you had a chick coming round, you play a certain tune.
Of course.
A little Cisco and them thing there, just, you know what I'm saying? And you just be ready.
Yeah.
Because that's the vibe. You're not going to go and play shoot 'em up and you got to go. Like, that's not, so everything has that vibe and it sets you and it gets you in a certain mood as an individual. It spiritually connects to you, whether you like it or not.
It's true.
And I just feel like a lot of people are in denial. If they take time to just, you know, kind of address the situation or just kind of look at themselves and say, well, what does music do for me? What doesn't it do? Because everything that we come across in life has a negative and a plus and a minus. Everything that we come across. There isn't anything that doesn't, and this is one thing I always learned, man, that the scholars used to say is that it's the same with dawah. It's like, it's either you give dawah or you get dawah given to you. And that's something that I always took from anything that we do. Never look like, I don't look at a TV campaign or an advert or anything, and I just think they're doing it for the sake of doing it. No one does things for just the sake of doing it. They're giving you a message, and it's either you receive that message or you denounce it and you push it back with your own message. You know, it's like you're gonna get a haircut and someone's gonna say to you, no, I don't like that. They're trying to give you a message. It's either you denounce that, say, no, I like it. Why do I like it? And you're firm upon why you like it, because A, B, C, and D. If you don't know why you're doing things, it's easy for you to get pushed around because you don't even know where you're coming or going. You don't know what you stand for. So when someone now pushes their understanding and their way of life on you, it's so easy for you to crumble because you don't really have one anyway. And that's why I feel like with music, a lot of people, it's been pushed onto them because they don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And I feel like as Muslims, we have the Quran, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you have that and you cherish it how it should be, man, I think it will definitely push music away from you, man.
Have you noticed the difference in the last sort of 4 to 5 years with UK rap and grime? Have you noticed the difference with youth and youth culture and the effects of, I feel like maybe UK rap and grime is a little bit more explicit when I used to listen to it. I think it's very socially acceptable to be talking about shotting crack cocaine as a complete normal and talking about nitties on your line, this, that and the other as a normal, because when I used to listen to music, people were talking about maybe selling cannabis, but now it's like, now you hear everything is actually talking about, you're talking about hardcore drugs. Have you noticed the much change in your area with
No, I think it has. I feel like a new generation. I feel like, especially here, I think the music always forms. And I feel like the new style of music that they have now, the kids, that's called drill music. You know, this drill trap music where they just repeat repetitive words of like, stab him, shoot him, we killed him. They just repeat. And psychologically, I'm sure if we look at the effects of repetitive words and repeating something, because even, you know, one of the best ways to memorize Quran is that you read one ayah and you might read 5 you know, you might read 5 ayahs and you read them repetitively over and over again, and then you leave it. So you might go over it like 20 times. This is one of the styles that they use in Mauritania. And then the next day you come back, you repeat those same 5, 20, and then you move on again. It's that repetitive, it stays in your head. So I feel like the dangers of the new style, the drill one, that isn't really also, it's not really like a masterclass of someone showing their talent.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? It's just repetitive.
Zero talent,
Zero talent. It's nursery rhyming type of stuff. And it's just, and I feel like how it's picked up and how it's grasped the youth and how they're moving now, it's taking them on a whole different pedestal. Because I walk past some young kids and they'll have it blazing loud in their tunes, the girls, the boys, everything. And I feel like the stuff they're just saying is just like kill him, stab him. And I'm like, it's like the horror of rap.
Yeah.
If you talk about films, this is like horror movies. It's like, it's different. It's just all about killing, stabbing, shooting.
But it makes it just almost acceptable, like the fact that the messages are pure negative, and everyone would agree with that, Muslim or non-Muslim. It's pure negative. But I think now just that it shocks me that
it's acceptance.
Yeah, it's acceptance, and I see it. I'm from St Albans, which is alhamdulillah, it's not a bad area at all. But you see, like, I hear and see more and more youth getting involved with things that they shouldn't be involved with, and I know it's purely down to what they listen to.
I think the acceptance comes through the hip hop culture, and I feel like hip hop as a culture is so accepted worldwide that anything that it adopts as a part of that culture becomes accepted. And that's why it's not a coincidence that whenever anything is trying to be pushed in the mainstream, it's always pushed through hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, when you find there was an issue with homosexuality within society and things wasn't going right, one of the main mechanisms that they used was hip hop. You found Eminem, who was known to be, you know, outwardly against homosexuality and things like that, was then doing tracks with Elton John on a Tupac beat. So they've got one of the the hardest ever rappers in the world, you know, Tupac, got his vocals, put him on with Eminem on a beat produced by Elton John and said, have that. You lot don't like homosexuality, have this. And it shows how hip hop as a culture is able to transcend, like, it transcends barriers that many other cultures don't. And what do I mean by that? I said that if we name cultures around the world that are able to transcend, how many times are you going to go into, let's give an example, a British community and find British people wearing Arab clothes or wearing Asian clothes, you know what I'm saying, or wearing like Far East Asian, like Chinese. You hardly find that, you know what I'm saying. Those cultures can't transcend like that. But you can go into an Asian community and find people within that dressed as in that hip hop culture. You can go in any community in the world and find hip hop. And we find that there's like a friend that I know that teaches in Saudi Arabia, and he said one of his Saudi Arabian students was writing down on a piece of paper some lyrics, and when he read the lyrics, they were 6-7 lyrics, you know, that drill music. And he posted it online and showed it and said, what the heck is this Arab kid doing writing these lyrics? So what do you know about this? And he was telling him, nah, this is what's happening on YouTube, blah blah. And it just shows how, you know, kids from Brixton can, through that culture of hip hop, can just go to, you know, the other part of the world and transcend and be explosive like that to a point where it affects people's lives. I remember going in places like Egypt and I'm seeing, you know, a shop called Tupac and Biggie, and that's all they're listening to, and they don't even know what they're talking about, what they're doing, but they feel it. It's like, you know, it's just so deeply rooted with them, and how they connect with it. It's astonishing, man. It's very astonishing to find.
So, within your community, you mentioned people like Giggs, who've come from a certain background, and now is moving in a whole other direction. That's very much viewed, would you say, as a positive from where he's come from to where he is now? Obviously,
that's why it's difficult, and this is something that I always talk about. Buck, it's like when I look at people like Giggs and Kai, whoever, anyone that we've done music with, Buck and people like that. Like one guy, Buck, recently, I think he does a lot of acting with Muslim Bilal, and knowing where he's come from, to where he is now, it's difficult for me not to be happy for him.
Because it's almost like, obviously we're not taking Islam out of the equation for a second, but we can view people. We're not going to obviously follow it by what we follow, but there's definitely, you can look at some people and say they have definitely made positive movements.
No, there's definitely a positive movement. So I'm not, when it comes to my Islam is everything.
Yeah.
But I'm practical. There's a lot of people that are theoretical and they think because they've done the theory test, now they can drive.
Yeah.
But now you got to get in that practical and learn how to drive. Theory is one thing, driving the car is a whole different thing. So you might be in the car and you're like, right, in the theory test, they told me if this and this, but nah, this is different now. The weathers, it's all, you're thinking, how comes it's not the same as the theory? Was the theory wrong? No, theoretically it was correct, but the practical is that and more. And I feel like sometimes with our Islam, a lot of us are still in the theory process. Yeah. So we're reading books, we're getting information, and we're thinking, but practically it's not working. So something must be wrong. But that's not the issue. The issue is that you're mixing up the two things. So I feel like I have friends that were shooting, going to prison, selling drugs, who now do music for a living, are wealthy, and no longer have to shoot, sell drugs and get into gang. Am I going to be upset that they're no longer doing that? No, I'm not. I'm going to be happy for them. Do I wish that or hope that they might have had a different career and be doing something different? Yes. But I'm definitely happy that they are today where they are than where they were yesterday. And I'm definitely, and that's something that I'm happy that they're not dead or they're in jail and they're not having to sell drugs to get by. They're not having to live that life of, we couldn't live. I remember when Foot Locker first opened in Brixton, and we was like, it was such a big thing. There was no Foot Lockers in South London. Like, that was like one of the first ones in South London. It was like, we had to contemplate if we could go there to buy a pair of trainers. And all the mandem was like, we can't go Brixton. We can't go there. Like, there's about 3 groups there, and all 3 of them we got an issue with. Like, we can't go there. So we just took the risk. We thought we were going to be in and out. The first 2 minutes of me being in that shop was surrounded. Like, within 2 minutes. I don't know if someone saw us driving into the area, so right, them lot in there. As soon as I'm seeing people in the queue behind me that looking different, it's like some secret agent. I'm seeing man like, oh, what's going on, cuz? What, you and Bricky, yeah? All right. And I'm like, whoa. Like, before we knew it, we was fighting our way out of Brixton, throwing shoes, throwing poles. Like, it was going off in there. And I'm like, not having to live that life no more. That's what Islam done for me. That I became Muslim and I was able to go into different areas where I couldn't go before. You know what I'm saying? Because of certain beefs and stuff, a lot of that was able to go to the side. And I feel like music has done that a lot for some of my peers that I left behind.
Obviously, you became Muslim and you were in prison, etc. Do you feel like when you took Shahada, your mindset changed in the sense that you see someone from other ends, but they are Muslim? Would you eradicate that previous beef and just look at them and love them for the sake of Allah and just simply look at them as akhi, or did it take you a while to kind of change that mindset?
Yeah, Islam done that. Islam made you feel like you could kind of put certain grievances to the side, especially if no one died in those grievances. It was a bit more difficult if someone died. You know what I'm saying? And it's beyond us now, isn't it? So me and you might pull it to the side, but my brethren might see you and still do something to you, and your brethren might see me and do something to me. But as far as us two, then yeah, maybe we can put something to the side. Because I remember there was one guy that I had an issue with before Islam. I think I chased him with a strap once. And so after that, he was like, there was pressure. Because if you've ever been chased with a strap, it's peak. So it's like, obviously, it puts that fear of God in you because you know it can go down. So then I've seen him and I'm wearing a white fob, white kufi. And I know he had a strap because he had his pouch and he grasped it as soon as he saw me. But then he actually realized what he was seeing in front of him. He was seeing a white phobe and a kufi. Because first he must have just saw my face and it all came rushing back right. He tried to chase me. But then he saw what was going on and I see him kind of pull it away to the side and say, Salaam alaikum, mate, what, you're Muslim now? And I'm like, yeah, this is alhamdulillah. And he embraced me and hugged me and he kept it moving. But I know that day he could have shot me if he wanted to, 100%. But I feel like that's what Islam done for a lot of us in South London. It gave us that opportunity to kind of, as long as nobody died, let's put it to the side and move forward. And then a lot of kind of relationships kind of come together after
reconnect with the brothers.
Yeah, a lot, man. Because at the same time, when you look at it, you're from Brixton, I'm from Peckham or Wharf Road, but we're growing up the same. we're growing up in certain areas, impoverished, you know, fighting certain same systematic systems. We're having the same lives, but the only reason we don't like each other is just because of our postcode. But if you lived in my area, we must probably be best friends.
Yeah, of course.
And if I lived in yours, so the only reason that anything's keeping us apart is those postcode lines. And I feel like Islam definitely took that away. And like I said, this is what I see within the music. Like when I see people like Butt Gigs and Kaiser and that embracing people from North London, West London, Brixton, and even beefs that they had that are being squashed because of music, they found something that can connect them, and they no longer have to be in that world of, because it means a lot to us. A lot of people don't understand, and I feel like that's why when we embrace Islam, not everyone's the same. And I always tell people that if you look at the stories of the Salaf, and you look at Umar ibn Khattab, and you look at different people that embraced Islam, and how Khalid ibn Walid, and how they were dealt with, they weren't dealt the same. I remember the story of, I think it was Abu Hurairah, when Umar ibn Khattab punched him in the chest and knocked him down. He ran back to the Prophet complaining. And it just shows that, because he was going around telling everyone that whoever says, I think it was the hadith, man qala la ilaha illallah. He said, whoever says la ilaha illallah will enter paradise. And Umar ibn Khattab said to him, if you go around telling people that, they're just going to think all they have. And this is why I say it's so great, because this is in the time of the Sahaba. Umar is telling Abu Hurairah, if you tell these Sahaba, these people who are the best of generations, that all they have to do, if you let them know about this hadith, all they have to do is say la ilaha illallah, and they're going to go into Jannah. They're not going to do anything else. They're going to think they're all right because they have la ilaha illallah. And this was them. Look at us today. So imagine people hearing that today.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? So he punched him straight away because he said, don't tell no one. So he went back to the Prophet, complained. The Prophet, you know, told him, you can't do that. But what I'm getting to is that Umar ibn Khattab was on stuff before Islam. He beat his sister so hard that, like, he was whipping her so hard for becoming Muslim. And then he took a break, and she goes like, how you're having mercy on me? And he goes, no, my arm just got tired. That's the levels that he was on. You know what I'm saying? So she's like, right, you stop beating me because you're having mercy. You realize we're blood now. He said, no, my arm. So he was on stuff. So now he's become Muslim. People know he's on stuff. When he became Muslim, the Prophet, he told the Prophet, listen, we have Allah. I'm going to go to the Kaaba and tell everyone that we're Muslim and this is the right deen. If anyone tries it, I don't care. He went to the Kaaba, they rushed him, and he said, like, if I get up and I'm able to do, I can't remember, he said like A, B, and C, none of you are going to be able to handle me. Like, he was known to be on stuff. So when he became Muslim, other Sahaba were wary. Don't think because we're all Muslim, you can talk to Umar anyhow. He has a certain character. Abu Bakr has a certain character. Uthman, radiallahu anhu, they all have different characters. And I feel like today, when people embrace Islam, and you know that guy was a maniac before Islam, don't get too bubbly and start playing games with him. Because he's still that guy. He might try to use that attitude in a different way to protect the Muslims, so like you might go out to eat some food, and then someone tries it on the brothers, and that same guy is standing up because he's about that life. But if you also tick him off, he might punch you in your chest or punch you in your face. So I feel like it's important that people kind of understand who people are and take them through. Some people were more, you know, more like soft inclined, more humble inclined. That's the brother that you go to when you got problems, because you know he's soft, he's humble, he thinks a certain way. Use that.
But ultimately, you're not saying just because you become Muslim you have to become soft and a pushover.
No, you are who you are, though. And because you become Muslim, it don't mean you have to become rough and tough.
And I think that's the beauty of having the Sahaba as our role models. Because I was in a class a few weeks ago where the Sheikh was literally speaking about this, and he was saying that there's actually a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks about, I think, some of his 5 or 7 closest companions, and he points out the characteristic that each companion has, and he says the beauty of this hadith is that it shows these are the Sahaba, the best generation. It shows that you can be a slave of Allah, a good Muslim, but still have individual characteristic traits and still be individual characters. So Islam doesn't come to change a person's character or who a person is. It just it comes to perfect us in our in who we are, but we can still have our own, for example, characteristic traits. It doesn't mean we're all the same person. We're just slave you know, to Allah, and it perfects us, subhanAllah.
100%.
With that being said, let's take a quick break, and then kind of I've got a few more things for Musa for when we come back. I want to dive into kind of one of the main things I want to dive into is, you know, there's people out there who perhaps kind of don't live like the road life, and but are intrigued by it and attracted to it. And I want to kind of go into your kind of advice to those people who are attracted to it and who are trying to get themselves into it, when there's people who are living it, who are trying to get themselves out of it. And then also we want to go into some current events where our producer Red, who is back, will be kind of just talking about some current stories that's going on around the world. We'll comment on them, inshallah. So we'll do that all when we come back. Let's take a quick break. Okay, and we are back. So Musa, before the break I was saying that there, like I said, there's a lot of people who perhaps are attracted to the lifestyle that you came from, and what would your advice be to those people? First of all, why do you think you're seen as so attractive? And secondly, what would your advice be to those people, being someone who has actively worked to getting out of that kind of lifestyle? Now you're in a place where you're saying you're mentally, spiritually happier and more at peace.
I feel like I said again, I feel like the lifestyle that we come from, it's a lifestyle that's been created by I would say it's a post-slavery Afro-Caribbean concept of a Western type of living. And I feel like if you look into the history of the UK, when a lot of the Caribbeans were coming from Jamaica and the islands and things like that, and they adopted certain things that were already here, even though they went through the oppression and blah 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 and racism and stuff like that. When you look at the early pictures that I've looked at, I find that they adopted this dapper clothing that they got from, I would say, the British gangster guys, because they had a lot of dapper swag. So they got the bowler hats, the blazers and all of that, and they adapted it with their swag, and it took off. And then you find that a lot of genres, especially music, like when you look at things like jazz, hip hop and things like that, break dancing, when you look at where all of these things came from, a lot of it comes from oppression and trying to express yourself. And I feel like now it's become an industry that's worth billions of dollars, and it's transcended in everything that we do, I think to the point where it elected Barack Obama in America to becoming the first black American president, was through that same culture, that it came from there, being put forward by major artists, and those artists having a sway of youth that then came to the ballot boxes to, it transcends all of that. And I feel like when we talk about the gang culture, it's a part of that. You know what I'm saying? So people are not just attracted to gang life, blah, blah, blah. They're attracted to the whole package, which involves music, a swag, a way you dress, a way you talk, a way you live your life. And, and all of that is a part of it. That's, the gang culture, it might be a dirty side of it, a side that people want to. It's just like if you look at pop or rock and roll, it has a drug side, that is a side that people might not want to look at, but it has a bad side of, taking drugs and mad type of drugs. And when people take on that culture, they might say, no, I'm only doing it for the swag and blah, blah, blah. But there's others that do it for that, what I'm saying? And it's a part of that same, environment or same culture and stuff like that. So I feel like people are easily attracted to the gang life because they mix the two up. They mix the music, the acting cool, to then you have to also be about that life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they fall into that. So some of the youth, they feel like it's just, I'm from a certain community. I have to, first and foremost, the segregation of communities forces you to be who you want to be. I couldn't be a Brixton boy because I lived in Wharf Road. I couldn't be a boy from a Bow gang, because I didn't live in Bow. Where I lived, I had to be from that or nothing. It's that segregation of putting me in that area then forces me to be that. The only options that I have is being from a gang in that area. Then secondly, you get on a bus and you're a certain age and you're going through a different area, some kids might come up to you on a bus and you're like 11 years old. This is the first time you've ever took a bus to go anywhere. You're now traveling to go secondary school. And they're like, where you're from? You're like, I'm from Peckham. What, you're a Peckham boy? I'm a boy and I'm from Peckham. So maybe, yeah, I am a Peckham boy. They're like, so you know them, man. Who are you talking about? You know, so-and-so. Yeah, I used to play football with him. So why? So but it's innocent. It could be as innocent that you played football with a kid. He's from your area. He's now turned into some next thing. And all of a sudden you're connected with him. You know him and someone's trying to earn stripes. So they're forcing you and they're pushing you into this category. They're telling you you're a Peckham boy because you're from Peckham. They're telling you that you must be his brethren because you've grown up in the same. So then you're forced, or you're back against the wall. It's either you do something now or you don't.
Yeah.
Or you become a victim. So a lot of people become victimized. And like I remember one brother, Rashid, was saying is that some people become gangsters by accident. And what did he mean by that? He said that you're on the road with your brethren, you get into a fight, one of your friends has got a knife, he drops it, all of a sudden it's in your hands. You stab him, you stab the guy, even though you didn't mean to stab him, you didn't want to stab him, it's not about you to stab him. And then he runs off after being stabbed. Now one ends, you're the stabber. Yeah. You're a bad man. Everyone's like, you hear, what, my man? Yeah, he pulled out the knife, he stabbed. People now exaggerating what happened. You're like, hold on, I'm not about that life. But then now people are like nudging you, yeah, you're big, yeah, you stabbed my man, you're about, so you think you're going to give up those ratings. You're like, yeah, I did stab him. Yeah, I did want to do it. And you didn't. You're not about that life. And then next week you get into another fight and you think, I've done it once, I can do it again. And before you know it, you're an accident murderer, or you're not really about that life. So that's why when people like that really get checked by people that are about that life, they crumble. And that's why sometimes man will say, yeah, my man's a bad man. You say, no, he's an idiot. Watch, and you pull it on him because you know, people that know. So there's so many different, aspects of this gang culture that you find people that's not about that life, that's been pushed into it, people that are just in it because of the areas they live in, others that are really, messed up kids that's had different type of. I look at some of my friends that I grew up with, I feel like some of these guys used to just like causing pain. He's not right. Sometimes me and my brethren, we reminisce and we laugh. Say, my man, I think he went well, because he used to do some crazy stuff. He's that kid that would just get a basketball and flatten a pigeon. Like, what was all that about? You know what I'm saying? So you look back and you think, what was all that about? He was a bit, and then he went on to do mad stabbings and shootings. And you look back at it, now you're grown. You're like, now we know that there's certain symptoms of causes. Now we look back at things and we say, you know what? My man had HD, whatever it's called. What's that, HD? Yeah, I'm like, I think he had that. And then you look at someone else and you say, you know what? I think and you say, why? Because look, he could never, he was always, and then you start to look back now and analyze things as you're older and realize that a lot of kids in the community were psychologically, messed up due to how they were raised. I remember going to my friend's house and their parents were smoking in front of them like cannabis and weed and stuff like that. And they were young. We didn't know then. It's only when we grew up and we get to a certain age and he's stealing cannabis from his mum's pot and things like that. And this is still 13, 14 years. But so he's been raised around that. Yeah. So we don't get that. So he's been raised around. It's like, and I always tell people that there's a lot of people that, and this is what reverts sometimes come to the deen and they're like affected by what they've come from. And some sisters get attracted, he's a revert, he's an ex-gangster, blah, 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 and they married him. But he's got a lot of scars, a lot of things that he's trying to get off because he's grown up where he's walking in on his mum having relationships with different men. Like, he vividly remembers this. 11 years old, walks in his mum room, she's having relationships with someone. He's seen her in a compromising position. Not once, numerous times. He's seen his mum drinking alcohol. He's come home and his mum just knocked out he's calling her mum, I gotta go to school. She's knocked out from the night before. He's dressed himself, he's gone to school. You don't know that life. So people don't understand that has an effect on someone. You going and living a life like that, it's different. So a lot of people, they wish to have what people from the road had and think, you lot had a cool life and blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it wasn't that cool. And sometimes, on the other hand, Muslims, like reverts that embrace Islam, I just wanted to add this point is that one thing that you should do is that take time to get to know them on a deep level once they're able to open up, because it's not what it seems. Sometimes you think, to example, there's some brothers that always seem to fall into problems since after becoming Muslims, and like, what's you just saying, like, he's not on it, he doesn't love the deen, he doesn't like the deen, he's jahil, he's this, he's that. If you look at it, this guy has been traumatized and he's going through a lot of trauma, and this trauma is only settling in now because he's Muslim, and Islam explains a lot of your issues that you had before. Islam explains that experience that you went through before Islam was magic. That experience that you went through before Islam was possession. That experience that you went through before Islam was sexual abuse. Islam starts to explain these things, and because now you're critiquing yourself in a different aspect, you're like, raw, I was abused as a child, raw, I was this as a child, raw. And this happens to a lot of brothers and sisters that start to understand that the moral compass sways from everything's okay to raw, this is where our moral compass should be at. And then there's a lot of sisters that are like, raw, my uncle abused me, raw, it was not okay to, because you have this, men are here, women are there, we don't even free mix. So now sisters are thinking, right, he used to feel my bum, he used to tap me on my bum. It's small things like that that we think is nothing. It's like, that's why I always thought it was okay. You know what I'm saying? So when you get to Islam, it's like you start to see a lot of things and start to go through a lot of things that start to wake you up and tell you and explain your experiences more, and it's an eye-opener. So I feel like people don't really want that life. If people understood that street life, they don't really want it. And what attracts them to it is the other aspect of that same culture, which is rap, fashion, because let's be honest, if, I would say the pinnacle point of swag is a drug dealer. You see a drug dealer on top of his game, he is the pinnacle of swag from top to bottom. So it's hard to say that you hate him, but you want to look like him. It's hard to say that you hate what he represents, but at the same time, he has an appeal in how he's dressed and how he's looking. He's got a Mercedes, BMW, he's got a Cartier on, like, he's got Gucci top to bottom, he's fresh. It's like, how he's, he's the pinnacle of swag. So it's like, it's difficult.
Outside in, can be seen as a very, very attractive.
Of course.
Outside in though, because inside out, obviously, there's certainly no peace of mind in that lifestyle.
There's no peace of mind. 100%. Like the individuals that are going through, and I feel like a lot of the time people got to understand again why I say that it's a post, slave mentality, is that it's not the brand itself, it's what the brand represents. People don't give a damn about the latest swag, whatever it might be. It's what it represents. And if it didn't represent what it represents, that you have money, that you're successful, that you're doing something, then you wouldn't wear it. So it's not the brand itself, it's rather what the brand represents. And when you look at, especially how this type of fresh to death swag came into hip hop, it's that post-slavery where, freed slaves and people like that wanted to fit into the society of the people that they dressed a certain way, they looked a certain way. And for me to say I'm no longer that slave, I'm no longer from that lineage of people, I have what you have. Not only do I have what you have, I have more of what you have than you have. So you find that they start to spend and invest and put all their money into things that are just materialistic. And that's why you find that last year, Black America spent 3 times as much on Mercedes as white America, even though white America is 10 times richer than Black America.
SubhanAllah.
You do the maths. You know what I'm saying? Black America last year spent $3 billion on Jordans alone. You do the math. So if you look at the black economy in America and what they put into brands, they have enough money. Like Black America, in terms of the money they put into brands, is richer than some small countries. You know what I'm saying? They have more money on a yearly basis spent on major brands than some small countries spend on their whole country. So it just shows that the spending power that they have. But again, it's a mind frame of trying to, and that's why you say, why is a drug dealer that doesn't own anything, living in a council flat with his mum, own a Mercedes and own this and own that? It's because it represents something. You don't know where he lives. You don't know that he don't know anything. When you see him on the main road, he's representing something else. He's representing Chelsea and Kensington. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So I feel like that's where that comes from. A lot of people, you know, love what brands represent, and that's one of the biggest reasons.
Do you also feel over recently the pressure of ensuring that everyone's got the latest the brand? Because it's not even like you can buy one pair of shoe and get away with it and get looked at and get ratings. It's almost like you have to have 5 brand new pairs of shoes, and then when they release the next ones, you have to have them on your feet, and vice versa with watches, everything. Like the pressure seems to have risen. Like you can't just have one nice thing and be rated for it. You have to have the latest and loads of the latest things.
Yeah, the pressure comes from social media and that everything is documented. You know what I mean? Things weren't documented before. I might see you, like some of us, we haven't really seen it. When was the last time we saw each other? Last time we went to, Last time we went to Gambia.
Gambia probably.
So before social media, that was the last time I would have saw your pair of trainers and your whatever you have.
Yeah.
And that's how it was before social media. If I see you, I see you. Then I know what you're about. With social media, me seeing you every day. So it's like, that's the last time we physically met, but we see each other all the time. So with that pressure, you have to be on point. Because I'm basically seeing you without seeing you. I'm basically
on a
around
daily
you.
basis.
On a daily basis without being around you. So that's where that pressure comes. And that's one of the things that Abu Bakr, we never got with Roadside to Islam was anything. And I used to tell him, we're not on anyone's clock time. We don't do anything for anyone. We don't create content. Content comes to us. We pull it out there. We can't create stuff. You know what I'm saying? Things have to happen organically. We can't. This is Allah's deen. It's not me and you's deen. Like, I can never help anyone to get to Jannah. Allah is the one that gives people Tawheed, and Allah is the one that takes Tawheed away.
First time I ever saw you on social media was on Roadside to Islam when you and Abu Bakr did, I think it was a black and white video. You were wearing a Stony jacket and you went to draw for the bottle. That's the first time I ever saw you.
Yeah.
When you were putting videos out like that, did you get much negative from the ends and people? Like,
I feel like a lot early Islam never understood Roadside to Islam. They thought we were creating an Islam for the roads. We were creating an Islam that was like, you know, similar to like what people do when they create different sects or like nation. It's like we were trying to create an Islam that allowed people to stay ignorant and not have to better themselves. But rather what we were doing, we were creating a stepping stone to get people to where they need to be at. Because sometimes the move to being ignorant to being practicing is such a major step. There is no in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a huge step. People need to have guidelines, because the thing is, you can't just leave people alone and just expect them to get to that. So you need to kind of set things up. So that was the main purpose, is try to set a stone that people can then just move over and get to where
you're right, because the step is huge.
It's a massive step.
And it's tough because I was introduced, the first video that I was sent was Roadside to Islam when the brother gets shot in the club, which had an effect on me. And also someone gave me Muslim Bilal's album. And I was never on road, etc. But just I can relate to a lot of the things that were spoken about. And it was a massive stepping stone for me. Like even Muslim Bilal's album was like, I wasn't ready to have Quran on full time, but I was definitely ready to listen to someone talk about the new things that I discovered, but then also talking about other things that I could relate to.
Of course.
And I feel like without that, how do we expect the youth and that to get on the deen correctly, because there's no stepping stone?
100%, it's important. And I feel like a lot of those things, because we didn't have that, and I feel like we was in a position to create that, we're definitely happy for that. But at the same time, I also understand the fears that a lot of people had with Roadside to Islam, is because I think that we've come to see some of those fears manifest, where is that people, it was something that was new. I don't remember seeing anyone from the youth genre picking up a camera and introducing Islam to people how Roadside to Islam did. I think the only person that was doing it was him and Street Ordine. And I feel like since then, a catalogue of people that used to watch Islam, I mean, we used to watch Roadside to Islam, have now produced their own content. And I'm sure that every single one of them, or a lot of them, could say, yeah, I used to watch Roadside to Islam.
Yeah.
And through that, they've created their own content. But some of the content that's been created now has gone way off to where it was before. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that was the fear, that people feared that you might open up a door, that you come through it correctly, but then you can no longer have control of what happens, because now you've put an idea out there, and now people are thinking, raw, because I'm not saying I was like famous before Islam, but I was known. Whether it was through my street credibility or my music, I was known. I would go to the masjid like raw, because at that time my music was relevant at the time, so people would know me. So I never got in a Roadside to Islam video thinking it can get me to any higher heights than what I was at. I was thinking people know me up and down the country. There's man playing my music in jails all over the place. I'm known. Like when I go place and I mention my name, I'm like, yeah, I know your voice. Yeah, I listen to your. So it's like I never felt like it was a career progression step by being on Roadside to Islam. It was like I'm just helping a man them. Whereas some people saw that and thought to themselves, right, this is something different. And I feel like that's one of the grievances, or something that Abu Bakr talks a lot about in terms of the youth dawah and its direction that it's taken and how it's become. Because I feel like there's nothing wrong with information and entertainment, because there is halal entertainment, and giving people, you know, levels of like what we're doing here today in terms of podcasts and introducing people to Muslims that live in the Western society and have similar values as human beings as everyone else, and also they have principles that they hold on to, but we're just like man them, like that's normal. And then there's a difference with someone saying, I've studied Islam for a year or two, now I'm a sheikh and I'm going to tell you this is halal, this is haram. And I feel like that platform there is dangerous, because those individuals stop you from. No one ever listened to Roadside to Islam and thought, this is sick, I never have to seek knowledge. These people are enough for me, because we didn't give you knowledge like that. You always felt like you needed more. But there's some individuals you might listen to online and they give you that presence of, this is enough for you. We're going to teach you lessons. You can come to our lessons. We got things online. We got this class, that class, blah, blah. And then you think, but these individuals are ignorant. You know, they don't have hikmah. Because what the scholars say, hikmah is not only understanding and wisdom. Hikmah is putting the pieces of the puzzle in the right places at the right time. Is knowing when to put that piece in. Not that you just pull it in its right place, but you do it also in the right time. That's true wisdom and hikmah. And that's why you might ask some of these guys, can I go university? And they're like, no, don't go university, it's haram. You know what I'm saying? And then you say, all right, sweet. And then later on they're saying, yeah, I went to uni and I got 2 degrees. And you're like, what's going on here? You got your 2 degrees, don't go uni. So what is it? It's like they will just give you blanket fatwas. They won't give you specific. Like the scholars, they say, any fatwa that you see online, don't take it.
Be conscious of it.
Because it's for someone. Someone asked that question to the sheikh and he gave him that answer to him. He didn't give it to you. Someone went. That's why those fatwas are collected. Unless it's something to do with a fiqh issue of how to make wudu, things like that. But if someone says, sheikh, I live in America, I want to go university, this is my conditions, what do you think? Based on your conditions, don't go. Someone else asks the same question, go. So you can't take that unless you're gonna, if it's that serious enough, then go and seek the question yourself. But don't be on this, you get something from online and then you start pushing it to everyone, because those effects, they affect me even now with the clothing stuff that I do. Sometimes people contact me and they'll be like, oh, this clothing, that. I'm like, listen, are you all right? Like, are you okay? Like, do you think I just do things without taking advice and taking this here? I know where I'm going and I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not ignorant of these things. Don't just read stuff and start pushing it like that.
I don't know.
It's difficult.
Jazakallah khair, man. This has been like so beneficial. Like, listen to your story, listen to lessons that you learned throughout the story. It's been insane, alhamdulillah. It's been like one of the most beneficial episodes.
We're gonna have to get you back, my brother, because I was just getting started.
There's some things we didn't touch on. I didn't touch on the clothing,
of course,
where we're going. Obviously, there's a lot of people. I know Faze was doing his thing. It's something that's also inspirational. I just wanted, obviously, there's so many things that I could have touched on in terms of, I feel like how his platform inspires other people to do what they're doing. You and Josh and the things that you guys are doing. I feel like being Muslims and being in these type of environments, I feel like there's a lot of good people that are doing stuff, you know, like Mass with his takbir training and with the Izar and the highly blessed thing that you're doing. I feel like a lot of these things, sometimes we do it as self-gains in terms of that we're trying to provide for ourselves and our families and do what we're doing. But on another note, it sets things off for a lot of other people. You know, a lot of other people that are watching that will message and say, you know what, I've been contemplating doing something for so long, but seeing your approach to the industry and the bit and how you're doing it, it's given me the strength to go forward. And I feel like sometimes that's not mentioned enough, because sometimes it can be overlooked and you just feel like, you know, brothers are doing stuff. But from the outside, the kind of information that I get from people that I work in the sports retail now. One of the main reasons I started working in sports retail 4 months ago is because I'm starting a sportswear brand. So I said to myself, how the heck am I going to start a sports? Who do I think I am to start a sportswear brand? And I've never worked in the industry. Who the heck do I think I am? Like, there's levels to these things. So then people was like, but you don't need the money. Why would you go and work in sports retail? That's like, that job's long. But I said that it's how serious you are. You can't just think you're going to open up a coffee shop tomorrow and you've never learned how to make coffee. You have to go through certain procedures and like familiarize yourself with what you're trying to do.
For sure.
Even if it's a small course, and then you can understand it. So what I've learned about sports retail in the last 5 months working in a sports shop, it's amazing. So many things that I didn't know, but it's allowed me to adapt what I'm trying to do now and move in a different direction because of just being in that environment, seeing how product gets to store, how it gets merchandised, and why they merchandise red before they would merchandise white, and why they would put, you know, clothing on the left and shoes on the, like, so many things. I say, it's that deep. It's that deep. I'm like, okay then.
Sick.
So I feel like sharing these things with people online and the stuff that we're doing, I think that it helps a lot of people, and I feel like I encourage you guys to keep on doing that on your platform.
Jazakallah khair, I appreciate it. Well, you're still here for a hot second because we're going to go into some current events. We got our producer Red, who's back after a very long stint. We thought you was going to be back last week, Red.
Yeah.
And then you was Alaikum Salam, and then you unfortunately fell ill. But we're back with Red One.
Yes, Red One. Assalamu alaikum. Great to see you, bro.
It's great seeing you.
I feel like a stranger to me now. Just because I feel like I haven't seen you for so long.
It's been around 5 weeks, hasn't it?
It has been, yeah. Were you away for 3 weeks or 4 weeks?
I went for 2.
You went for 2 weeks?
I went for 2, but because we had the break.
That's right. Oh yeah, there was the break. Of course. And then you went on a trip, and then you felt ill.
I came back, still kind of ill, but you know, I'm here.
You're a soldier.
How was your trip?
My trip was difficult in many ways. It was enlightening in many ways. It was reminiscent in many ways. It was amazing. Like, it's always good to go back to Bangladesh because it serves you with a lot of reminders, and it serves you with a great feeling as well to be around, being a third world country, being a completely different world to where we are. So I always appreciate going there, and I thank my parents as well for, you know, making sure that we stay in touch with our roots, because we go every 2 years or so. I think this has been like maybe the 11th or 12th time that we've been since we've been born and raised here. So it's always amazing, and I'll always appreciate my time there.
Sick.
Shout out Bangladesh.
Yeah, big up the motherland, Bangladesh.
Big up motherland.
Yeah, mashallah.
Well, we got Red.
Huh?
Let's get into some current events.
Let's get some current events. So we've got some interesting ones today. Recently, there's been a Muslim art student forced to drop out of college after refusing to draw naked models.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
sorry, being dropped out, being kicked out.
Kicked out, sorry.
Okay.
Kicked out. She's been kicked out. Obviously, in the art culture, there's a lot of drawings of like still life forms.
Yeah.
I mean, even being an image maker is.
Yes,
there's some serious hadith about image making.
Yeah,
it's
true.
So what? And there's and a nude image as well.
Yeah. So
double whammy.
So the Royal Drawing School in London, they kicked out a student called Mariam Adam. She's only 18, but yeah, she, you know, obviously she had aspirations to work towards an art degree, but
alhamdulillah, if she gave it up for the
out,
sake of Allah, there's benefit in it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know whether she had a choice.
No, but as in the reason she didn't do it,
of course.
Obviously,
yeah. Something. I'll give her something better for that, inshallah.
Yeah. There's been a couple of people that have been jailed. There's a man that I read this in the newspaper in the morning. So a man pretended to be paralyzed for 15 years and conned the HMRC out of £500,000.
Bro.
15 years. But he was spotted wheelchairing his wife.
No.
He's actually disabled, so
For
he was summoned to court. Out of the 500,000, he admitted to £249,000 of fraud. The rest of it is still in question, but he's been jailed for that now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
He's
it seems to make
Tax,
sense.
Yeah. And
That's
there's
a
another
big.
dude.
You might get a bit of time for that.
Yeah, big
That's
time.
deep.
Yeah, another
Hold on
guy-
a second. Does he have to pay it back though? That 249.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the assessment of his financial situation.
So
I don't
he
know
said
whether
that he
he'll
was
be able to-
paralyzed
Yeah.
from what?
He acted paralyzed. He didn't just say he acted paralyzed from the neck down.
From the neck down.
From the neck
Ridiculous,
down.
man.
He arrived.
Say, what
He was
a ridiculous
spotted
thing
and
to
he
do.
arrived to court.
15 years.
That's a joke.
15 years.
Them type of lies are too much. I mean, I laugh for turtles.
I mean,
I'm scared of that
But-
type of stuff. Say you're paralyzed, next minute it's a wrap. You can't move.
yeah.
That's true.
I
That's
can't
true,
do that
that's true,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
true.
it's too much.
But how do you like get away with it for 15 years? Like, what? So does that mean even if you go to the shops, just in case like someone rats you out, you gotta act? Oh no, you can't go shops, can you? If you're,
can't,
oh
if you're
yeah.
paralyzed. I
So
mean,
what? Does he
unless
just stay at
someone's
home
taking you.
for 15 years?
Yeah.
They follow you as well. They find out you're like paralyzed, whatever. They'll actually go and try and sneak up on you. So
Oh really?
They tried it on my dad once because he had a bad back, and they tried to like shop at his house, take pictures of him, and that. So he was walking to the car, but he had a bad back. Like,
No way.
say you're, like,
Yeah, they'll do that.
all that shit.
Yeah,
But most of the time, what they'll do, they will get the guys that are really in need of it, that are trying to do their job. So you got a bad back, but you're trying to make us like you're trying in it. So you're getting out and about. They're the people that they'll prosecute more of the time than these guys get away with it for 15 years. You know what I'm saying?
crazy. Another guy's getting jailed because he's a scaffolding worker.
Oh, I saw this.
Did you see that? And he's getting
Hold-
jailed. So basically, he was working 60 feet high up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On scaffolding, but he didn't. He forgot to build the railing, which basically prevents him from falling.
Yeah.
He didn't know he could get jailed for that. But he's getting jailed for being spotted.
I
working
saw
in those conditions.
this, but I'm kind of skeptical. I didn't read the article, but I saw the pictures and I saw the headline. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't. Obviously, it's a stupid thing to do. To not basically, from what I read, he didn't have the correct safety harness or something. But maybe
No,
what
he
you're saying.
had the safety harness, but it
Okay.
wasn't connected to anything.
Fine. So he basically didn't use his safety precautions properly when he was doing this scaffolding. Yeah, and he's like 60 foot high.
60.
Yeah, on his building, and so essentially he can, like, if he was to fall back or something, like, it's peak. But I don't understand why he's getting jailed because, like, it was just a stupid thing for him to do. Right?
Health and safety, though, man.
But it's
Imagine
him.
if he comes
It's a
down,
breach of
he's
health and safety
if
act.
he comes down, he's could be taking a couple man with him.
No, yeah, I suppose. If you see the picture, I suppose.
Imagine if he fell off a building.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
try
yeah,
telling
yeah.
to him this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, you could. If you're coming off of a big building, you could seriously hurt someone, bro.
How long did he? I thought, but don't you think like?
I know. I think it's
Fine.
extreme. I think it's
Yeah.
extreme. But if you don't put these things in place,
I suppose people don't get.
how long is he going down for?
I didn't specifically say. I think his case is still in court.
That's rubbish thing to go
That's
to prison for,
crazy,
isn't it?
though.
Yeah, because like
Forgot to put the
I do
harness on,
understand
bruv.
it, but yeah, but like, yeah.
A fine probably would be more suitable.
Yeah, even a big fine.
A big fine,
So
yeah.
You get in there, or what you're in there for.
Yeah, didn't put a harness on.
Yeah.
It's rough.
It's like, I mean, I do get it. I do get that it's bad, but yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So I mentioned that. Another piece of news. So a recent study has been shown. Our children are growing up in a Alexa and Siri
Of course, yeah.
generation. Yeah. So studies show that these kids that are growing up in this generation, interacting with these AI, actually grow up to be much more aggressive in their nature, with their peers, with their parents, with other people in general, because the interaction with these AI don't teach them to actually say please and thank you, and it's more of like an order basis. For example, when you ask Siri directions to a place, you don't say please or thank you. You just talk.
Yeah,
to
if I want
it
to call something, that's
as
it.
if
Cool,
it's an
right?
animal.
Yeah.
You get it? So the studies show that 42% of the kids 9 to 16 years old are using it to help themselves with homework or with their game addictions or YouTube and so on, and they're adopting the conversational skills that they have with these AI and applying it to real life situations.
Well, it makes sense because, first of all, you would lose. I mean, it's me saying this is kind of like throwing stones at a glass house. Is that the thing? But it does make you like a less patient person because you ask something and it gets done.
Yeah.
And you're also asking, like you said, in quite an aggressive, not an aggressive way. You know, hey Siri, but you
Order,
like
it's an order.
Yeah, it's an order, and it can't do any benefits to your patients, can it? Like,
It's not teaching social skills, is it?
No.
right.
Exactly.
And also it increases laziness, probably.
How long have they been out?
Oh, Alexa's just been out. Alexa has been out for about 6 months, I think now.
Yeah, but I think like AI in general has been out for a few years,
AI been out.
but it's only becoming like this popular now, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long has it been out? Would you say 2 years?
No, more than that. Siri's been available since. Siri's been for ages, and kids.
About
Kids.
5
It's
years.
been more prominent.
Yeah.
I'd say it's
okay.
been more prominent
That's
in the
what it
last
is
2
then.
to 3 years.
Because I was thinking, what type of study they do? I thought this thing just came out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, they started it from the get go or what? But if it's been out like 5 years plus,
So yeah, Siri's been on the phone for a minute, innit?
Yeah.
okay.
I don't really use it too much. To be
I
fair.
don't use it.
I use it because when I'm driving.
Yeah, I got Google Home. It's not bad.
Oh, you got that?
I got it with this Pixel thing. It's not bad. It works well.
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to buy the what is it called? Alexa. I wanted to buy that. I mean, I still do.
Yeah.
Google Home is bad.
You like the technology, don't you?
Even the headphones for this.
Latest.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys seen the headphones for the Pixel. The
Nah.
pod. It does real-time translation.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah, through this. So like you just set it up to say Japanese, and then you ask them a question like, "How do I get to the coffee shop?" And then they speak in Japanese to your phone, and it translates. In
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, they're coming out with new. There's
Wow.
another headphones coming out now. They're
It's
called,
the same system as this because you can do it on your phone here, right?
Yeah.
With Google, you can ask someone in Japanese, and it will translate it here. But because it comes straight into your earpiece, it just gives it that bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
could actually do it on your phone.
I tell you what I like. I like when it comes to technology that so you can get like these Philips bulbs that connect to your iPhone, so that you can turn the light on and off with your phone, and you can also like set the color. So like if, for example, you want the mood to be lighter or and stuff, you can like set it like the hue and
phone.
saturation on your phone. And also if like for example you're coming home. Or if, for example, you left the house and you forgot that you left all the lights on, you can turn them off from your app wirelessly. And also, you can do the same with like your heating and stuff. So let's say it's cold. Obviously, you're not gonna waste the heating, have the heating on all day when you're at home, when no one's at home. Let's say you're on your way home, you're 20 minutes away from the house. You want to heat up the house, turn your heating on, and then I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
Like-
good. That's good. That's good.
And with the Alexa, you could do that kind of stuff. You could be like, Alexa, turn the lights on or something. Like for me,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I like that, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One of the
of
other
course.
things that I'm afraid of, they say that these things are recording 24 hours in your home.
Yeah, that is true. But even like your phone, for example, there's this like if you go into the settings of your phone,
But the
your phone.
speaker in this one here, like, and there was Google Homes and Alexas and all that. They're just saying they're just recording the convo. You know, they're saying that the speakers in them are different levels.
Yeah, because they're trying to, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to pick up like what you're like, so that they can always advise you and they can always be like manage you better. So for example, if they for example, yeah, our phones always can tell which locations we're at the most and at what times. Yeah. So now when it hits like 5 o'clock, my phone will let me know like the ways on my phone be like knows that that's around the time I normally go home, and it knows that I'm normally here and they know where my house is and I normally go there around this time. So it will give me a pop-up saying, oh, are you planning to go home soon? Because if you are, there's a bit of traffic on this road.
It's a bit too much.
That means you're being watched.
Exactly. You like it as, oh, they're trying to be helpful. They're not. They're just trying to watch everyone closely, bruv.
If someone can,
I understand, but for me,
It's helpful,
that's right,
yeah.
Because I done this is exactly what I did my
I know,
dissertation
but
on.
that's like telling a stranger, "Can you watch me?" So you can get my habits, and then when certain things happen, just give me a call and just.
Yeah.
But that's how these
That's what
things
it is.
that's how these things work though. Like you have to give some to get if you
Like,
if
you're
you
always giving
if
too much. Like the iris now, most people's eye is already in the system.
It's
your
true.
face is in the system.
It's
And people
true.
start talking about like, so now Amazon's got that new shop, right, where it's
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
got no
yeah.
staff in there.
you seen that?
Yeah,
It's all just set up. You go in
That's
there,
basic.
come out. Basically, your app or something. When you walk past it scans.
Yeah,
Or something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But I'm saying that people are saying, how are they gonna catch thieves? I'm like, you're already in the system
Yeah.
with all these pictures.
But can you
and
avoid that now,
but
bro?
you
Like
don't know.
in day and age we live in, do you really think
No,
that
I think you
avoid
can
that?
minimize it. You can minimize
Yeah,
it.
you can
Like
minimize it.
sometimes when you find that some of these celebrities have just come on Twitter last year or last month, you think, hold on, you haven't been on Twitter, and you've like so a lot of people just come on. Like, who do I follow? Is it Matic from Man United? He just came on Instagram about 5 days ago. And I'm thinking, where have you been? You know what I'm saying? And it shows you a lot of these people, because of their careers and their professions, they stay away
Yeah.
from a lot of things that we indulge in and
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
it's normal.
Yeah.
We think that we have to, but
True.
Yeah, but
I
with
think there's a
micro,
balance.
but with micromanagement stuff, that's not social media, but stuff like your phone tracking you and stuff. I'm saying it's hard to avoid that stuff. Like
Yeah.
you'd have to have a brick phone. And
But you know what's
It brings-
strange? There's people today that have no image online.
It's true. I know my secondary school teacher was like that.
Yeah.
In my secondary school, for example, he they set up this is years ago, and they set up a fingerprint system. So all of the staff now, when they come out in and out of school and stuff, they can do their fingerprint to come in easier and that kind of stuff. He refused to give his fingerprint to anyone. He was like, I'm not giving, and he's in his right to do that, innit?
Yeah.
And so he wouldn't give it, so he would have a fob, and so I know people who do like can avoid it, but I feel like in the day and age that we live in, with technology coming to our fingertips and technology coming to us faster and faster, it is harder and harder to avoid these kind of stuff. So all you have to do is own a phone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And so it's hard.
Yes.
Like I said, I did my dissertation on this exact topic on mass government surveillance.
Yeah.
And there's an argument to be had where people say if you got nothing to hide, then you should be nothing. You shouldn't be afraid of anything. And I actually opposed the argument in my dissertation. I said that makes no sense. Well, just because I got nothing to hide, I now have to let everyone access my information.
Yeah.
That's not true. I should be able to still stay private and know that I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
But even though I portrayed that argument in my dissertation, I still feel like it is very, very difficult to like hide yourself nowadays. You own a phone, you own a watch. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible.
Problematic.
Okay, everything that you're saying ties into my last piece of news. All right, it's kind of crazy, but there's a new city-based startup. They basically have made an app called Smarter Time.
Okay.
And what that does is it allows the phone to calculate how much time is being spent on activities, and then helps the user better carve up their day and get more discipline in their life by creating a 24-hour cycle profile. It looks into your walking routes, tube routine, time spent on calls, anything, even if you're on Netflix and Facebook. Even if you have the desktop version. Is
this app out?
This is almost out.
Yeah,
I don't think it's been
finished.
released yet.
We're
But
finished.
there's a lot of social implications.
We're finished.
You lot will never download that app, innit? I'm the first customer.
We're finished. It's too much.
It can tell whether you're surfing the internet or working. If you've gone out for a coffee, it changes. Looks at the changes in your Wi-Fi pattern on your phone, and can tell whether you've gone out for a coffee or you're actually talking to a colleague on the phone.
Basically, this
nuts.
app here, you're finished.
They're using
like,
interrogation
it's too much.
systems and sensors within your phone. It literally logs into your phone.
So they've already got, or basically you already have the tools for them to apply that system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they can just apply it. But my thing is that you can't even be a waste man in peace now. You know what I'm saying? The app's gonna tell you, yeah, you're a waste man.
Can't be a waste man.
You watch too much Netflix. You just drink too much
You're
coffee.
a bum.
You're a bum. Yeah. You're finished. Some man want to be a waste man in peace.
Yeah,
You just want to watch
true.
your Netflix and chill. You know what I'm saying? But now you're just gonna be like, the app's gonna be like, look, you're on Netflix too long. Come off.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It literally
It's too much.
designed to say that.
Yeah,
Do
it's
that.
too much.
That's
It's too
true.
much.
I don't know. I suppose people have to. It depends what you're kind of into and like what your personality is like. Like I know the majority of people would not like that and would be like their own privacy. I like structure in my life, so anything that will help me to structure my life more, I'm for. But I also see the
Yeah, I would
negatives in
love it as well, but I feel like you can come up with a format and say, are you
Yeah.
A, B, C, or D? And then you can look at the formats and say, you know, I'm more like B. And then say, if you're like B, then this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
True.
Rather than following me around, you can do it. You don't have to
True.
be onto man, because you can just set up, you know what I'm saying, categories of people that, and just do a survey of how people normally live their lives. And I'm sure that we all fit into a certain category of person. And then through that, we can just know how to sort our lives out. It's just too much.
True.
But yeah, that's the end of current events.
Thank you very much, and that is the end of Freshly Grounded. Not in total, just of the episode. Musa Salaam, Jazakallah khair for coming to the episode. Like I said, it has been amazing. Inshallah, now that we've had you on, it's more of an open door policy. Please do come through again.
Sure.
We'd love to have you on again. Inshallah, we can go into the clothing and the stuff that you said that you hadn't gone into. Maybe we actually... well, I didn't want to say this because it's so tentative, but I will say it as a kind of with asterisks that it's not confirmed. But inshallah, we're planning to do a Gambia trip in the very, very near future.
Sure.
And so if our paths meet there again,
Yeah.
we'll definitely, inshallah, try and do an episode out there.
Yeah, great.
But like I said, Jazakallah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And that's the end of episode 45. Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks a lot.